Tonight, the question is, what is happening in the House of Representatives? And there is a new report in Politico tonight at this hour saying that, and I'm quoting from the report, about Chairman Nadler and Speaker Pelosi disagreeing about this. Politico says Nadler pressed Pelosi to allow his committee to launch an impeachment inquiry against Trump, the second such request he's made in recent weeks, only to be rebuffed by the California Democrat and other senior leaders. Pelosi stood firm, reiterating that she isn't open to the idea of impeaching Trump at this time. So, are Democrats waiting for the voters to come to impeachment, or are the Democrats leading the voters toward impeachment? And for the view from inside the House of Representatives, we are very fortunate tonight to be joined by a senior member of the House, a veteran of the Clinton impeachment proceedings, Texas Democrat Lloyd Doggett, who is a member of the powerful House Ways and Means Committee. Also with us, Adam Gentleson, who served on the Senate staff of Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid. And Congressman Doggett, let me begin with you and your reaction to this reporting in Politico that has just come out that indicates that Chairman Nadler has basically been trying to get the okay from Speaker Pelosi to move to impeachment proceedings, and Speaker Pelosi is opposing that. Is that your understanding of where it stands tonight?
Well, I haven't verified that report or talked with him since flying out today. But you know, personally, I've come to the conclusion, and not eagerly and not quickly, that instituting impeachment proceedings is what we must do. And I believe that the majority of the Judiciary Committee feels that way, and perhaps Chairman Nadler, who's done an extraordinary job, is reflecting not only his own views, but that of his committee. I came to that conclusion because I don't see our actions thus far as being an effective response to the total obstruction of the Trump administration. And I think the clip you just showed of Senator Warren, who's always articulate and powerful, really summed it up well. We have a duty to the Constitution and a duty to our democracy that we must fulfill, not only because Donald Trump appears to have engaged in criminal conduct, but because we're setting the precedent for future presidents.
Congressman Doggett, I'm sure you have a high degree of sympathy for Democrats, especially newly elected Democrats in swing districts who've taken seats away from Republicans that could easily go back to Republicans in another election. A Democrat from Texas in the House of Representatives knows that there's another party out there. Obviously, there used to be a lot more Democrats from Texas in the House of Representatives. How do you see the politics of this for those colleagues of yours in those swing districts who run that risk, who have to calculate much more carefully what this would mean to Republicans in their district and Republicans who could otherwise be willing to continue to support that Democratic member?
Well, I know that whole issue figures prominently in the Speaker's thinking. 31 Democrats in districts that Trump carried, very concerned about not only replacing Trump ultimately, but ensuring that we have a Democratic Congress finally that can respond to a new president and move forward on the issues we all care about so much. You know, I think the effect is mixed. But my experience has always been that if you stood firmly and clearly for your principles and defined them, that people would respect them. Even at a time of great division like this, I believe that most of my colleagues in those districts who are forceful, who explain clearly, and we begin to lay out to the public. We're always told, well, the Senate will never convict. I think we have a responsibility to do the proceeding. If we conclude that impeachment is appropriate, the final judgment is not only that of the Senate, but of the American people, who may be the ultimate voters on this issue in November of next year, and they need to be fully informed about all the crimes that the president apparently committed.
Adam Gentleson, the kind of political considerations that I was just raising that we know have been raised with the Speaker about the risks involved for Democrats moving toward impeachment and how that could risk the positions of Democratic House members in swing districts, that is countered by your new piece about the risk, the political risk you're talking about, the political risk of not impeaching Donald Trump. What is that risk for the Democrats?
Well, if you want to put it purely in political terms, which I do, the risk is low turnout. I mean, that's what you're talking about here. The risk is that we spend the time between now and Election Day, which is 17 months, having these kind of arguments, having these kind of Politico stories about disagreements within the caucus, rather than uniting behind an effort to use the power that House Democrats have and wield it effectively to hold Trump accountable. You know, I wrote in the piece about my experience in the Senate when Merrick Garland was up for confirmation and McConnell blocked him. And, you know, there were some extreme measures we could have taken, but we looked at the polls that showed Hillary Clinton confidently beating Donald Trump. And we said, you know, let's not rock the boat. Let's not do anything extreme. We'll win the election, and a President, Hillary Clinton, will send her Supreme Court nominee to be confirmed by a Democratic Senate. It didn't work out that way. When you have the opportunity to wield power against your opponent politically, you should use it.
And Congressman Doggett, Adam Jentleson makes the point in his piece that one of the biggest risks politically that the Democrats run in their current posture is the risk of looking weak by the failure to take action.
I think Adam has a very important article. The focus has been mostly on what would the cost be to Democrats of impeaching, and not enough on the cost of failing to do our job and sitting on our hands. We were elected to defend the Constitution and our democracy and to stand up to Donald Trump when he's wrong. The evidence out there is really far-reaching. And I think we need to do our job, not sit on our hands. There's no reason that we can't continue to attempt to legislate as we did this week, as you noted, very important action on the DREAM Act, as we have done week after week, and sending bills to the Senate that the Senate will probably sit on. But that's not a reason to avoid our responsibility to protect the democracy by demanding some accountability from this president.
Adam, it seems the Democrats, many Democrats in the leadership anyway, are using the experience of the Clinton impeachment, and that's something that Congressman Doggett sat through in the House of Representatives. And their lesson is that the Clinton impeachment didn't work. Bill Clinton, the Republicans failed politically on that, and Bill Clinton remained popular. What are your lessons from the Clinton impeachment that you would apply here and would not apply here?
I mean, look, the main lesson that I think is safe to apply in most circumstances is that getting impeached is bad. It's just not a good thing to happen to a president. The Clinton situation was different than what we have now because Bill Clinton was popular, Ken Starr was not. The public thought Ken Starr was on a fishing expedition, and they thought Bill Clinton was being treated unfairly. That is completely different than what we have now, where you have a president who is historically unpopular, and you have Robert Mueller, who the public thinks has been extremely fair. Bill Clinton never stood for election after he got impeached, so we don't really know how it would have played out. We do know that his heir apparent, Al Gore, went on to lose an election that he could have won, given that he was inheriting a booming economy. So there's an argument that it played out negatively politically in that respect. But the closest analogy is really the Nixon situation, where the evidence against Nixon was severe and it was overwhelming. And it took a president who is at 65% down out of office. So I think that is a much more appropriate comparison to make than the Clinton situation.
Adam Jentleson and Congressman Lloyd Doggett, thank you both very much for starting us off tonight. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.